Right. Lots of you on a lighter note getting in touch with your best adverts, your favourite adverts. Beth says there's a 1980s music theme for my favourite ads. Obviously the Cadbury Gorilla playing the drums is great. That is great. But the First Time First Love Coke advert was amazing. Plus the Best a Man Can Get 1989 Gillette advert was fantastic. It is funny how these adverts just last in your mind, don't they? Phil in Presswich says has to be For Mash Get Smash adverts in the 1970s. Cadbury's mashed potato substitute, very funny. And he says it is available on YouTube. Younger listeners, check them out. That is a good point, isn't it? Younger listeners, you won't necessarily have seen these classic adverts that live on in so many other people's minds. Right. The reason we're talking adverts is because with less than a week to go until polling day, any political party trying to get elected does a lot of different things, doesn't it, to try and boost the campaign. One of the most important things is how as a party you go about advertising yourself to voters. So not necessarily the debates, but how you actually reach out on social media, on telly, on, all the various platforms and try and engage with voters on your terms. And I've been speaking to Richard Huntingdon, who's the chair of Saatchi and Saatchi, the advertising giant. It works with some of the world's biggest companies, HSBC, Procter & Gamble, Visa, but it's also credited with helping Margaret Thatcher get into power back in 1979. And that, of course, was a time when trust and confidence in politics generally was higher than it is today. So I began by asking him from an advertising perspective how he'd go about rebuilding that.
For me, that's all about a belief that government can make a difference. We've been told for a very long time that the things that are happening to us aren't the politicians' fault. They're because of outside forces. And the trouble with that is it ends up communicating to people that the people in charge are not in control. And that is really unsettling if you are facing into the horrific impact of inflation. And though the inflation rate has come down, the impact of it is ripping through people's lives. You want to believe that the people in charge can do something about that. And so that's I think, the fundamental building block is to show that government, with a small g, can be effective again.
You're describing an incredibly challenging background for any politician. What's that background like for any brand trying to break through with its advertising at the moment?
It's tough. It's tough. In the world of business, what you're constantly looking for is growth. And in the past, some of that growth has come from the environment around you. These days, businesses have to make their own growth. We saw in April, GDP growth is at 0% precisely. That's a very challenging environment for businesses to operate in. And so the scramble for growth is desperately important to the organizations that we work with. And you're doing that against the backdrop of people, whatever part of society they live in, who have less and less and less. So that's the real challenge. We work for organizations like the British Heart Foundation. You're looking at how often can people afford to make a donation to an organization like that? How often can they afford to maybe purchase a premium broadband product or premium mobile phone service? These are the big questions that British businesses are leaning into. How do we make money and how do we employ people and grow in this environment? What is it that's going to come along? Lots of conversations about AI at the moment and the impact that might have on business. We're still all experimenting with that, but it has quite a profound effect at every point in the journey, whether that's building strategies, understanding customers, serving customers, and also fundamentally generating content, which AI is getting very, very good at.
Do you worry that as AI moves past the stage where people in the pictures have too many fingers, for example, that it might take some work from organisations like yours?
It's bound to have an impact on our sector. At the moment, it's augmenting our talents and skills. I think that's the best way of putting it. But we're all on the edge of our seats, I think, in terms of understanding the long-term impact of AI on employment and on the economy.
Now, we've recently seen music and literary festivals separating themselves from sponsors because of political and climate concerns. I'm thinking of Barclays and Bailey Gifford. Yes. Does sponsorship or engagement with this kind of thing now risk reputational damage for some brands?
to be honest, whenever organizations partner with each other, whether that is in a commercial relationship to produce a product or in a sponsorship relationship, that's always a profound possibility. And that's why choosing your sponsorship partners on both sides of the equation is desperately important. People who will go through the ups and downs of the context each organization encounters together and build something together. And I think that, sponsorship used to be about badging things. It's much more about effective partnership. So I think that good sponsorship relationships are resilient and robust. But whenever two organizations come together, you've got to be alive to what effectively one partner ends up communicating about the other.
Richard Huntington there, chair of Saatchi and Saatchi, the advertising behemoth. Loads of you still getting in touch with your favourite ads. Sean in Somerset says best ad has to be, it's another vote for the gorilla playing the drums to Phil Collins' Cadbury's advert. Or, says Sean, I bet he drinks Carling Black Label series. And actually on X, somebody with the username Stumpus says the Carling Black Label advert with the guy in a wheelchair on a roller coaster track. Brilliant punchline. I'm going to spend some time on you. I'm going to spend some time on you. I'm going to spend some time on you. I'm going to spend some time on you.